failing to respond to this breach of this international norm would send a signal to rogue nations, authoritarian regimes, and terrorist organizations that they can develop and use weapons of mass destruction and not pay a consequence. And that's not the world that we want to live in.
Well, as the United States prepares to strike Syria, or so it appears, there is brand new evidence that Iran is plotting revenge attacks on America. Our U.S. intelligence reportedly intercepting an order from the head of Iran's Quds Force, a special unit of the Revolutionary Guard. And the Wall Street Journal is reporting that the message orders Iranian-backed militias in Iraq to attack the U.S. Embassy and other American interests in strike Syria. That's just one part of the report. Mark Dubowitz is the executive director of the Foundation for Defense of Democracy. Spends a lot of time talking, thinking, studying. Nice to see you.
Hi, Jenna.
That's one of the big questions. If we attack Syria, what can we expect from Iran?
Well, Jenna, we can expect what the Iranians have been doing to us for years. They've been killing Americans, American soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan, diplomats in Lebanon. So it is certainly to be expected the Iranians will continue doing what they've done for years, which is strike at U.S. interests and U.S. personnel.
We hear that Iran is involved in this what some are calling a proxy war in Syria. Some would just argue they're just involved in this war in Syria. What can you tell our viewers about how much they truly are invested in what's happening and what will happen in that country?
Iran has gone all in into Syria. They are providing military support, financial support, and the head of Iran's Quds Force, Qasem Soleimani, the world's most dangerous man that no one's ever heard of, has been on the ground with Quds Force commanders, battalions, Revolutionary Guards, working with Hezbollah, and has gone all in to support Assad in keeping Syria as part of Iran's regional influence and part of Iranian regional hegemony.
And I'm so curious about your opinion on this, Mark, because if that is the case, and they're all in, and the United States has been very clear that we do not want Iran to get a nuclear weapon, and we do not want them to dominate that part of the world. In your opinion, should we be all in Syria?
Jenna, we should be all in Syria because of the threat of Iran. It's absolutely essential that we send a serious warning to the Iranian regime that the United States does not bluff and that we are going to stop the Iranians from developing nuclear weapons capability. The way to do that is to severely degrade Assad's military capacity and make it very clear to Iran that we are not bluffing. It's the only thing that's going to break Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei's nuclear will and his recognition that we will use military force to destroy his nuclear facilities.
If Iran is the goal, though, Mark, and we've heard that from the president, we've heard that from senators, then why not go directly to Iran? Instead of going through Syria and trying to send a message through those actions, why not just focus directly on Iran completely?
Look, ultimately, we're fighting a Cold War with Iran, which may become a hot war as Iran advances closer and closer to nuclear weapons capability. But let's make no mistake about it. When we go after Assad and Hezbollah and the Revolutionary Guards and the Quds Force in Syria, we are hitting Iran directly. And I think it's a way to actually not only send a message, but in doing so, seriously degrade Iran's military and overseas terrorist activities. It's important to understand that if you think of Iran as a corporation, as terrorism and destruction incorporated, now Ali Khamenei is the supreme leader, and this man, Qasem Soleimani, is the CEO and the chief operations officer. He's on the ground with his men in Syria. This is a way to severely degrade his terrorist capabilities.
Well, let me just ask you a little bit about Iran quickly here, because we've talked a lot about the nuclear program, and we're not talking a lot about it now because we're talking about Syria. But there seems to be some activity. We have the new leader in Iran. People are calling him moderate. Now there's an announcement that he's putting a new person in charge of nuclear negotiations. The foreign minister also being called moderate, also being called pragmatic. Some are saying here's another opportunity to the West for diplomacy in Iran. How do you see it?
If you extend that analogy as terrorism and destruction incorporated, if Khamenei and Soleimani are the executive chairman and the CEO, Rouhani and his foreign minister Zarif are the vice president of marketing and sales. And it's their goal to sell and to market particularly this illusion that the regime is at all moderate. I think that they have very little influence over Syria and Iran's nuclear program, and their goal is to create the illusion of moderation and of moderate change, when the reality is that Soleimani and Khamenei are in charge, and these are men who are committed to seriously damaging American national security interests and are absolutely committed to building a nuclear weapon.
It'll be interesting to see if the president speaks more directly about Iran when he says he's going to make the case to the American people coming this Tuesday. Mark, thank you very much. Great to see you.
Thanks, Jenna.